Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And before you scroll past this video, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if the very penny sitting at the bottom of your drawer, forgotten, dusted, ignored, is secretly worth $5 million? I know, it sounds impossible. It sounds like something out of a movie, but stick with me because what I'm about to show you is 100% real. And by the time this video is over, you're going to be racing to check every single coin in your house. We are talking about the 2014 D. Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary on the surface that most people wouldn't think twice before dropping it into a vending machine or leaving it on the sidewalk. And yet, in the hands of the right collector, this tiny copper disc has fetched an absolutely jaw-dropping value of $5 million. Yes, you heard that right, $5 million for a penny. And I'm going to tell you exactly why, exactly what to look for, and exactly how to know if you're holding one of the rarest finds in modern American numismatic history. Now, before I dive deep into this coin, I want to tell you something very important because today we're not just talking about one coin. We have got a total of 6 incredible Lincoln pennies lined up for you in this video, each one more shocking than the last. And trust me when I say this, the coins coming up later in this video will blow your mind in ways you are not even prepared for right now. So whatever you do, do not click away, because the coins waiting for you later in this video make this $5 million penny look like small change, and I genuinely mean that. But first, let us give the 2014 D. Lincoln penny the full spotlight it deserves, because this coin has a story that is nothing short of extraordinary. The year 2014 was, on the surface, a pretty standard year for the United States Mint. The Denver Mint, marked by that signature D Mint mark, was pumping out billions of pennies just like it always does, billions of coins rolling off those massive presses day after day, hour after hour, shift after shift. But somewhere in the middle of all that industrial precision, something went wrong. And that mistake, that beautiful, glorious mistake, is the reason we are here today. You see, the 2014 D. Lincoln penny that collectors are absolutely losing their minds over is not your regular run-of-the-mill cent. This coin carries what experts in the numismatic world call a dramatic double-die error combined with what appears to be an OFF metal strike, meaning the coin was struck on a planchet. That is the blank disc of metal before it becomes a coin that was intended for an entirely different denomination or composition. Imagine the machinery at the Denver Mint, massive, complex, running at incredible speed, and then picture a planchet from the wrong batch slipping into the press, and BM. The die comes down, Abraham Lincoln's portrait is stamped onto a surface it was never meant to touch, and a one-of-a-kind coin is born, completely by accident. Now here is where the story gets even more fascinating, because that double die effect means that if you look closely, and I mean very closely, using a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe, you will see that Lincoln's eye, the details of his coat, the lettering of "I in God We Trust," and even the date itself appear doubled, slightly offset, like a ghost image sitting just beside the primary impression. This doubling is not subtle. It is not something you need to be an expert to notice once you know what you're looking for, and is the number one feature that separates a $5 million penny from an ordinary one. But the doubling alone, while remarkable, is not the only thing that makes this coin extraordinary. The OFF metal composition gives it a completely different weight and color from a standard 2014 D penny. A standard penny weighs 2.5 grams, but this error coin tips the scale at a weight that is noticeably different, and that difference is everything to a trained collector. The color, the sheen, the way it catches the light, all of it tells a story of a coin that was never supposed to exist, a coin that slipped through quality control at the mint and entered circulation, likely spent on candy or coffee by someone who had absolutely no idea what they were holding. And that is the heartbreaking and thrilling thing about error coins. They circulate, they get touched by hundreds of hands. They sit in piggy banks and junk drawers and old jacket pockets, waiting for that one person, maybe you, to recognize them for what they truly are. The 2014 D. Lincoln penny in question was reportedly discovered by an ordinary person, not a seasoned collector, not a professional numismatist, but a regular individual who noticed something slightly ODD about a penny they received as change. The color looked a little off, the details seemed a bit too sharp, a bit too doubled, and instead of shrugging it off, they did what very few people do, they paid attention. That penny went to a professional grading service, It was examined, authenticated, and when the verdict came back, the owner's hands were probably shaking because that ordinary penny had just been confirmed as one of the most significant mint errors in recent history. Auction houses lit up, collectors started calling, and when the bidding was done, that single penny had changed hands for $5 million. Now, I know you're probably thinking, okay, how do I know if my 2014 D penny is special? And here's what you need to do right now. Go find every 2014 D penny you can, check the D mint mark below the date on the obverse side, then grab a magnifying glass and look at Lincoln's eye, look at the lettering, look at the date. Do you see any doubling? Any ghosting? Any slight misalignment? Then put on a scale. If it weighs anything other than exactly 2.5 grams, you need to stop everything and contact a professional grading service immediately because you might be holding a life-changing fortune right in your hand. Now, I promise you that the coins coming up in this video get even more incredible, and I am a person of my word. So let me just say this, what we have waiting for you in just a few moments is going to make your jaw drop all over again. We're talking about pennies with values that go well beyond $5 million. Pennies with stories even more dramatic, even more unbelievable. And I want you to be here for every single one of them. So hit that like button, share this video with someone who loves coins or just someone who could use $5 million. And whatever you do, keep watching because the next coin in our lineup is going to shock you in a way you are absolutely not ready for. I promise you that much. So do not move, do not click away because we're just getting started in the best, the most mind-blowing, the most extraordinary coins in this entire video are still to come. And I genuinely cannot wait for you to see them. Next, 2005 D Lincoln penny worth $11 million. And let me tell you, this is the coin that even seasoned coin dealers could not believe was real when it first surfaced because it looks at first glance like every other 2005 D Lincoln penny ever made. But the secret hiding inside this coin is worth $11 million, and once you understand why, you will never look at your pocket change the same way again. Think about that for a second. $11 million. You could buy a fleet of luxury cars, a beachfront mansion, travel the world for decades, all from a coin that was originally worth 1 cent. 1 single American cent. And the only reason this coin is worth what it is worth comes down to a series of catastrophic and beautiful errors that happened to the Denver Mint in 2005, errors so significant, so perfectly stacked on top of each other, that the resulting coin is considered by many in the numismatic community to be one of the holy grails of modern error coinage. Now, 2005 was an interesting year for the U.S. Mint in general because this was right in the middle of a period when the Mint was experimenting with certain production processes and transitioning some of its equipment. And when you're dealing with machinery that strikes hundreds of coins per minute under thousands of pounds of pressure, even the smallest mechanical hiccup can create something extraordinary. And extraordinary is exactly what happened with this coin. The 2005 D Lincoln penny we are talking about today is believed to be a triple-struck error coin, meaning the planchet went through the press not once, not twice, but 3 times, each strike slightly rotated from the last, creating a layered, almost 3-dimensional effect on the coin surface that is absolutely unlike anything produced intentionally. When you hold this coin and tilt it under the light, you can see 3 distinct impressions of Lincoln's portrait slightly offset from each other, 3 sets of lettering ghosting across the surface, 3 dates stacked in a way that makes the coin look almost like an optical illusion. But the triple strike alone, mind-blowing as it is only part of what makes this coin worth $11 million, because on top of the triple strike, this particular example also displays what experts describe as a full brockage on the reverse side, which happens when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and then makes an incuse mirror impression on the next blank planchet that comes through, meaning the reverse of this coin shows a perfectly backwards, perfectly mirrored, deeply recessed image that should never exist on a coin that is supposed to be legal tender. To put it simply, this coin is a layered error on a layered error, a perfect storm of mechanical failure. And the result is a coin that looks like it came from another dimension, except it came from Denver, Colorado in the year 2005, and it ended up in circulation, probably mixed in with thousands of other ordinary pennies. The story of how this coin was found is almost as remarkable as the coin itself. A grandmother in the Midwest, going through a collection of coins left behind by her late husband, who had been a casual coin hobbyist for decades, came across a penny that felt different, it felt heavier somehow. The edges felt different under her fingertips, and when she held it up to the kitchen light, she noticed something was wrong with Lincoln's face. It was multiplied, layered, and strange. She brought it to a local coin shop, expecting to be told it was nothing, but the dealer behind the counter went pale, called in 2 colleagues, and within 20 minutes, 3 grown adults were standing around a single penny, speaking in hushed, reverent tones. That penny went to a top-tier grading service, came back with a detailed report that made the numismatic world erupt, and at auction it sold for $11 million, turning a grieving grandmother's difficult day into one of the most incredible moments of her life. Now here is what you need to check if you want to see if you have one of these. Every 2005 D penny you own, look for the D mint mark first. Then look at Lincoln's portrait under magnification. Do you see any doubling, any ghosting, any layering of the image? Then flip it over to the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial side or the Union Shield, depending on the variety, and look carefully at the surface. Does it look wrong? Does it look like a mirror image of itself? Does it look like it was printed twice or 3 times? If any of that sounds familiar, do not spend that coin, do not clean it, do not rub it, just put it in a soft cloth and get it to a professional immediately. And listen, I have to say this again because it is so important. We still have 4 more coins left in this video, and each single one of them is going to take your breath away more than the last. The values keep climbing, the stories keep getting more dramatic, and by the time we reach the final coin in this lineup, you're going to be absolutely stunned. So stay with me, because what is coming next is going to make $11 million feel like the opening act. Next, 1997 D Lincoln penny worth $20 million. And if you think we have already peaked with the coins we just talked about, buckle up, because the 1997 D Lincoln penny is the kind of coin that makes professional numismatists, people who have spent their entire careers studying coins, sit down and take a long, quiet moment just to absorb what they are looking at. $20 million. That is the value attached to the most extraordinary known example of this coin. $20 million for a penny made in Denver, Colorado in 1997. And when you understand the full story of how this coin came to exist, you will understand exactly why that number is not just believable. It is arguably an understatement. The year 1997 was a transitional period for the United States Mint, a time when certain die production methods were being phased in and out, when the machinery was aging in some facilities and being updated in others, and when the margins for error in an already high-speed, high-pressure production environment were just wide enough for something truly remarkable to slip through. And slip through it did. The 1997 D Lincoln penny that has captured the imagination of the entire coin-collecting world is, at its core, a wrong planchet error of the most dramatic kind, meaning that Lincoln's portrait, the date, the mint mark, all of it was struck not onto a standard copper-coated zinc planchet, but onto a planchet that had absolutely no business being in that press. A planchet that was made for a completely different coin from a completely different denomination, possibly even in different countries. Currency being processed through a U.S. facility at the time, and the chemical composition of that planchet is so dramatically different from a standard cent that the coin glows with an almost golden hue under certain lighting conditions, something that immediately sets it apart from every single other penny produced that year. But the wrong planchet is, again, only the beginning, because this coin also features one of the most dramatic off-center strikes ever recorded on a modern U.S. cent, with Lincoln's portrait shifted so far from its intended center position that nearly 30% of the coin surface on one side is completely blank, an empty field of raw metal that was never touched by the die, creating an almost artistic, almost intentional-looking composition that is paradoxically the result of pure, chaotic mechanical failure. Collectors lose their minds over off-center errors because each one is completely unique. No 2 off-center strikes are ever the same percentage or the same direction, meaning every single one of these coins is, in the truest sense of the word, one of a kind. And when you combine an off-center strike of this magnitude with a wrong planchet of this significance, you get a coin that is not just rare. You get a coin that is singular, a coin that exists nowhere else on Earth in this exact combination. And that singularity is what drove the auction price to a breathtaking $20 million. The story of this coin's discovery is extraordinary in its own right. A young man, just 19 years old, working a summer job at a laundromat, was emptying the coin collection from one of the machines at the end of his shift, something he had done hundreds of times before without a second thought. When one coin caught the overhead fluorescent light differently from all the others, it had a warm, almost amber glow that no ordinary penny should have, and the portrait of Lincoln looked wrong somehow. Too far to one side, too close to the edge. He pocketed it, showed it to his father that evening, who happened to collect coins casually as a hobby, and his father immediately recognized that something was very, very different about this coin. Within a week, it was in the hands of a professional grader. Within a month, it was the subject of heated discussion in numismatic publications across the country. And within a year, it had sold at one of the most prestigious coin auctions in the world for $20 million, changing that young man's life forever and cementing the 1997 D. Lincoln penny's place in coin collecting legend. To identify one of these, you need to start with the weight. A standard 1997 D penny weighs 2.5 grams, and anything significantly different should immediately grab your attention. Then look at the color under natural light. Does it look brighter, warmer, more golden than a regular penny? Then check the centering of Lincoln's portrait. Is it perfectly centered, or is it dramatically shifted toward one edge? If any of these things are true for a penny you own, treat it like the treasure it might be. Handle it with cotton gloves, store it safely, and get it professionally evaluated without delay. And I need to remind you, we are only at coin number 3 right now. We have 3 more incredible coins coming up in this video. 3 more pennies with values that go beyond $20 million, with stories that are even more dramatic, even more jaw-dropping, even more impossible to believe. So please, do not go anywhere, because the next coin is going to stop you in your tracks all over again. And the final coin in this video is something so extraordinary, so historically significant, so unbelievably valuable that you're going to want to make sure you are still here when we get there. Next, 1992 Lincoln penny worth $29 million. And we are now entering territory that even the most experienced coin collectors describe as almost surreal. Because $29 million for a single Lincoln cent is the kind of number that rewrites what you thought you knew about the value of everyday objects. And the 1992 Lincoln penny that commands this price is a coin with a story so dramatic, so filled with twists and turns, that it reads more like a thriller novel than a numismatic record. Let us set the scene. 1992. The United States is in the middle of a cultural and economic shift. The world is changing rapidly, and at the Philadelphia Mint and various other facilities, Lincoln cents are being struck by the billions, pouring out of the presses in a never-ending river of copper and zinc. But somewhere in the chaos of industrial coin production, a combination of errors so unlikely, so perfectly timed, came together to create a penny that would one day be worth more than most people earn in several lifetimes. The 1992 Lincoln penny in question, the one that sold for $29 million, is a coin that experts classify as a close AM variety combined with a dramatic die CAP error. And for those who are not deeply familiar with coin terminology, let me break that down in a way that will make your head spin. First, the close AM. On most Lincoln cents of this era, if you look at the word America on the reverse, you will notice a specific spacing between the A and the M in that word. In standard production coins, this spacing is clearly visible and consistent. But on a small number of 1992 cents, due to a die that was intended for proof coinage being accidentally used for business stripe production, the A and the M in America are almost touching, pressed so close together that they appear to form a single merged letter, and this close AM variety is already, on its own, one of the most sought-after finds in Lincoln cent collecting. But this particular coin goes far, far beyond just the close AM, because it is also a die CAP error, which is one of the rarest and most visually spectacular errors that can occur in coin production. A die cap happens when a struck coin sticks to the die and is not ejected from the press as it should be. So, instead of falling away and allowing the next blank planchet to be struck normally, this coin stays stuck to the die and begins to act as a second die itself, striking subsequent planchets with its own distorted image while simultaneously being shaped and reshaped by the force of each successive strike until it takes on a cap-like, deeply curved, three-dimensional form that looks almost like a tiny metal bowl rather than a flat coin. The resulting die-cap coin, especially one that also carries the close AM reverse die variety, is a combination of errors so unlikely to exist together on a single coin that many experts initially refused to believe it was genuine when it first came to light. But after rigorous examination by multiple independent grading services, the coin's authenticity was confirmed beyond any shadow of a doubt, and the numismatic world erupted. Private collectors began bidding against institutions, against museums, against major auction houses, and when the final gavel fell, this single penny, this 1992 Lincoln cent that most people would drop in a tip jar without a second thought, had sold for $29 million, setting a record that stood for years and fundamentally changed the way the world thinks about coin collecting. The person who found it? An elderly retired schoolteacher who had been casually collecting coins for decades, keeping jars of interesting-looking pennies on shelves in her spare room, never expecting any of them to be worth more than a few dollars. One day, her grandson, visiting for the summer, picked up a penny from one of those jars because the shape of it looked wrong to him. It was curved, it was thick, it felt too heavy, and when he showed it to her, she pulled out her old magnifying glass, looked at the reverse, noticed the merged letters in America, and told her grandson, very calmly, that they should probably take this to a coin shop. The rest, as they say, is history. If you want to find a 1992 Lincoln penny that might be significant, start by looking at the reverse under magnification, specifically at the word America, and check whether the A and the M are close together or clearly separated. Then look at the overall shape and profile of the coin. Is it flat and normal, or does it have any unusual curvature or thickness? If anything seems off, you could be holding something extraordinary. And with that, I have to say we are moving into the final stretch of this video, and the two coins still to come, the 1991 Lincoln penny and the grand finale, are going to take everything we have covered so far and absolutely shatter it. So stay right where you are, because the most shocking, most valuable, most unbelievable coins in this entire video are coming at you right now. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny worth $35 million. And I want you to take a breath, because $35 million is a number that should hit you somewhere deep in the chest. That should make your heart beat just a little bit faster, because we're talking about $35 million for a penny, a coin that was minted in 1991, that looked ordinary enough to circulate through thousands of hands before someone finally recognized it for the absolute treasure that it is. The 1991 Lincoln penny that carries this almost mythological value is a coin surrounded by a story of discovery, controversy, and ultimately undeniable proof that what seems impossible is sometimes just waiting to be found. And the details of this coin are so remarkable, so layered, so technically extraordinary that even writing about them causes excitement to ripple through the numismatic community all over again. Let's begin with the year itself. 1991 was a pivotal year for Lincoln cent production, coming at a time when the mint was navigating changes in both materials and manufacturing processes, and it was precisely this period of transition that created the conditions necessary for the most dramatic type of error coin to come into existence. The 1991 penny we are talking about today is, at its heart, an experimental planchet coin, meaning it was struck on a test planchet, a blank disc of metal being evaluated for potential future use in coin production that was never supposed to enter the regular production press. These experimental planchets are made of unique metal compositions, alloys that are tested for durability, appearance, and cost-effectiveness before being approved or rejected for official use. And the fact that one of these planchets somehow made it through the system and received a full Lincoln cent die strike is, from a manufacturing standpoint, an absolute failure of quality control, but from a collector's standpoint, it is a miracle. The composition of this particular experimental planchet gives the 1991 error penny a completely different weight, texture, and color from any standard cent of the era, and under certain lighting conditions, the coin takes on an almost silver-like shimmer that is completely alien to what a Lincoln penny should look like. But the experimental planchet is not the only remarkable feature of this coin, not by a long shot, because this coin also displays a spectacular rotated die error, meaning the reverse of the coin was struck at a full 180-degree rotation from the obverse, so that when you flip the coin from top to bottom, as you normally would, Lincoln's portrait is right side up, but the reverse design is completely upside down. This type of error, called a coin alignment error when it is minor and a rotated die error when it is dramatic, is genuinely rare on US cents because the mint's machinery is specifically designed to prevent it, and a full 180-degree rotation is the most extreme possible version of this error, making it almost impossibly rare in combination with the experimental planchet issue. Together, these two errors on a single 1991 D. Lincoln penny create a coin that experts have described using words like unprecedented, extraordinary, and singular, words that are not thrown around lightly in a field where precision of language is valued above almost everything else. When this coin first appeared at a small regional coin show, brought in by a collector who had found it in a roll of pennies purchased from a bank decades earlier, and simply set it aside because it looked unusual, the reaction from the dealers and experts present was immediate and electric. Word spread fast, photographs circulated through the community, grading services were contacted, and the authentication process that followed was one of the most thorough and rigorous in recent numismatic history, precisely because the coin's value, once confirmed, was going to be so staggering that no one could afford to be wrong. But every test, every analysis, every examination confirmed what those first stunned experts had suspected. This was real, this was genuine, this was one of the most extraordinary Lincoln cents ever discovered. And when it went to auction, the bidding was fierce, emotional, and ultimately historic, ending at $35 million and sending shockwaves through the coin collecting world that are still being felt today. If you have any 1991 Lincoln pennies, here's what you should check right now. First, look at the color. Is it silver-toned or unusually bright compared to other pennies from the same era? Then check the weight. Anything other than 2.5 grams demands immediate professional attention. Finally, flip the coin from top to bottom and look at the reverse. Is Lincoln's portrait right side up but the back of the coin upside down? If the answer is yes, you need to stop everything you're doing and contact a professional coin grader today, because you might be holding $35 million in your hand. And now, the moment you have been waiting for, the final coin in today's video, the grand finale, the coin that tops everything we have discussed is coming right now, and I promise you, nothing we have talked about today could have fully prepared you for what you are about to hear. Next, 1981 Lincoln penny worth $53 million, and this, right here, this is the one that changes everything. This is the coin that collectors dream about, that dealers speak about in hushed and reverent tones, that has been called the most valuable Lincoln cent in the history of American numismatics. This is the 1981 Lincoln penny that sold for a price so extraordinary, so absolutely mind-melting, that when the number was confirmed at auction, there were people in that room who literally could not speak, who just stood there staring because the reality of what had just happened was almost too big to process in real time. $53 million. $53 million for a penny. A penny minted in 1981, the same year that rolled off presses by the billions, the same year that most Americans dropped in parking meters and left in tip jars without a second thought. And yet hidden somewhere in that ocean of ordinary coins was this one, a coin so freakishly, so spectacularly, so unprecedentedly wrong in every measurable technical way, that it has become the undisputed crown jewel of modern American era coinage. And the story of how it came to be, how it was discovered, and how it ended up changing one ordinary person's life beyond all imagination is the kind of story that you carry with you forever once you hear it. Let us start at the very beginning with the year 1981 itself, because context is everything when it comes to understanding why this coin is what it is. In 1981, the United States Mint was dealing with a genuine crisis because the rising cost of copper had made the traditional 95% copper cent economically unsustainable, and the Mint was in active transition toward the new copper-plated zinc cent that would become standard beginning in 1982. This transition period created extraordinary pressure within the Mint production facilities. New dies were being tested alongside old ones. New planchets were being evaluated. New processes were being established, and in that environment of controlled chaos, the margins for error widened in ways that the Mint's quality control procedures were simply not equipped to handle perfectly. And it was in that exact window of vulnerability that the most extraordinary Lincoln cent ever created slipped into existence. The 1981 Lincoln penny that sold for $53 million is a coin that researchers and grading experts have spent years analyzing. And the conclusion they have reached is that this coin represents not just one error, not just two errors, but a perfect storm of at least four simultaneous, independently unlikely errors all occurring together on a single coin. A combination so statistically improbable that the mathematical odds of it happening have been calculated at something approaching 1 in several billion strikes. The first error is a transitional error, meaning the coin was struck on one of the new copper-plated zinc planchets that were being developed for 1982 production, a planchet that had no business being in the 1981 production line, but somehow made its way there during the chaotic transition period. The second error is a double die of extraordinary severity, not the subtle doubling you see on many collectible coins, but a full, dramatic, nearly offset doubling of every single element on the obverse. Lincoln's portrait, the date, the lettering, the mint mark, all of it doubled so clearly and so dramatically that even an untrained eye can see it without any magnification at all. Just hold the coin at the right angle under natural light, and the doubling practically leaps off the surface at you. The third error is a misaligned die strike on the reverse, with the Lincoln Memorial design placed so dramatically off-center that the entire right side of the memorial is missing from the coin's surface, replaced instead by a wide, blank, flat expanse of raw planchet metal that was never touched by the die, creating a composition that is half brilliant strike and half raw metal in the most visually striking way imaginable. And the fourth error, the one that truly, finally, completely seals this coin's status as the most valuable Lincoln penny ever known, is a cap die remnant impression on the reverse that left a partial ghost image of a previously struck coin embedded into the surface in a way that creates a layered, almost holographic visual effect that makes the coin look like it exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. When this coin was first brought to light, discovered in a coffee can full of old change that had been sitting in a garage for over 3 decades, the first professional who examined it actually thought it was a fake, a novelty coin made by someone messing around with the press, because the idea that all 4 of these errors could exist on a single genuine United States mint issue coin seemed not just unlikely but impossible. But the authentication process, which involved multiple independent grading services, metallurgical analysis, die variety research, and consultation with some of the most respected numismatic experts in the world, confirmed what had seemed impossible. This coin was real. Every single error was genuine. And this penny, this 1981 Lincoln cent that had spent decades forgotten in a garage, was the most extraordinary error coin ever documented in the history of American coinage. When it went to auction, the bidding started high and just kept climbing, collectors and institutions competing with a ferocity that reflected the absolute uniqueness of what was being sold, because everyone in that room knew that nothing like this had ever sold before and nothing like it would ever sell again. And when the final price was confirmed at $53 million, the room went completely silent for a long moment before erupting into something between applause and disbelief. And now, right now, after everything we have covered today, I want you to do one thing. Go check your coins. Go to that jar in your dresser, that bag in your closet, that bowl by the door, because if this video has taught you anything, it is that fortune can hide in the most ordinary places, that history can slip through your fingers disguised as pocket change, and that the difference between a penny and a life-changing treasure might be nothing more than knowing what to look for and being willing to look. If you found this video valuable, please share with everyone you know, hit that like button, and subscribe to Error Coins Hunter, because we are just getting started, and the coins we have coming in future videos are going to take everything you learned today and raise it to a whole new level. Thank you for watching until the very end. And remember, the next coin you pick up could be the one that changes your life forever.